And welcome to a live stream review of Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. You know who we all are. You know the routine. I've been waiting a long time for this. This was my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm a huge fan of both the 1922 and the 1979 versions of Nosferatu. I've shown off this tattoo over and over again. Orlok was my very first tattoo, and here I am wearing my shirt. Which thank you, Rob, for getting me this shirt, and happy belated birthday. But what really caught my attention was who they got to helm the project. Robert Eggers, man. This man has not missed. The dude has made 3 bangers in a row. With The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. This was a huge passion project for him. Because he is a huge fan of the original 1922 film. It is a movie that has meant a lot to him. And he had an amazing cast involved. Bill Skarsgård, Nicholas Hoult, Willem Dafoe, and Lily Rose Depp. All the pieces were there for this to be not just another great horror movie for the year, but another win for Eggers. However, just because a director has a passion project doesn't automatically mean it's going to work out. Megalopolis was a passion project for Coppola. I'm in the minority of all of us here, but I didn't like that movie. The Monsters was a passion project for Rob Zombie. That movie sucked. And Beau was Afraid was a passion project for Ari Aster, and we all know how that turned out. Regardless of that, I was anticipating this movie so much. I went to see it on Christmas Day at a packed house early afternoon. After seeing it, what do I think? Well, I saw it for a second time yesterday, and I can officially say my favorite movie of 2024 has changed 3 times. First, it was Late Night with the Devil. Then it was The Substance. Now it's Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. I don't have any negatives for this movie, so let's jump into it, shall we? First off, the acting all around is fantastic. Nicholas Hoult is very likable as Thomas Hutter. Aaron Taylor Johnson is great as the skeptical Frederick Harding. Emma Corrin is great as Frederick's wife and Ellen's best friend Anna. Willem Dafoe, he's amazing in everything he's in, so it makes sense he would be fantastic, and he's hilarious as Dr. Von Franz. Ralph Ineson, from The Witch, he's fantastic as Dr. Severs. And I really liked Simon McBurney's portrayal of Knock. What I've noticed with Knock from the 79 version and the 1922 version is he's immediately hammy and ridiculous, right off the bat. We hear first, before you see him, you hear him laughing maniacally, but when Thomas is actually talking to him, he's a little bit more subtle. He's not already acting eccentric and talking like this to him. No, he's a little more withdrawn. But as we see Orlok's control on him, and we see him get more unhinged, that's the Knock we all know and love. But the standouts, of course, are Lily Rose Depp as Ellen and Bill Skarsgård as Orlok. I love their dynamic with Ellen being tethered to Orlok. After she was praying for company, as this lonely young girl. And that prayer was answered at the wrong time by the wrong person. Because she's now tethered to this thing. Not Orlok. She conveys so much emotion, whether it's her love for Thomas, her being possessed by Orlok, and having to deal with the consequences, being tethered to him. Skarsgård's portrayal of Orlok is probably my favorite interpretation of the character. He's terrifying, mysterious, a master manipulator, a bit of a troll, and he is simply walking chaos on on two legs. Orlok has never been this evil. I loved his look. I know people are complaining about the mustache. I love that stash. Are you kidding me? It helped this version stand out a bit more from both Max Schreck and Klaus Kinski. I liked how he had a bushy mustache. I liked how he had hair. He looked like a nobleman that was resurrected from the dead. And he also looks like a Strigoi. Those are Romanian monsters from monster vampires, from Romanian folklore, which I found to be neat. Dracula is supposed to be Romanian, and he speaks in a dead Romanian language, so I think if this version of Orlok's supposed to be a Strigoi, it works out. And I also liked the slow build-up to getting a good look at him. When you see him in the beginning, with his scene with Ellen, it's like a quick blink and you'll miss it. When Thomas meets him, he's completely obscured in darkness. You see his shadow, his silhouette. You can kind of make out his face in the candlelight. But when you do get the first full look at him, and he's butt-ass naked, it is a doozy. Robert Eggers put his heart and soul into this project, and it shows. His direction, his writing, his attention to detail, his passion, they're all on full display. What I appreciate so much about this version is Eggers isn't trying to do a shot-for-shot remake of either version. Sure, he does pay homage to both of them, as well as the Coppola Dracula. You do see him pay homage to some shots. Of course, there's the famous scene of Orlok walking up the stairs. But he's not trying to do a Gus Van Sant Psycho or a Hitcher or an Omen remake. This is how you do a remake. Take the premise of a classic film and make it your own. This is how you do it. His strengths as a director and writer are pushed to the forefront, especially with his accuracy to the period piece settings, the culture, the speech, and the dialogue. And, like I said earlier, I love how when Orlok isn't speaking English, he's speaking in this old, dead, abandoned Romanian language. I love when, Eggers is always balancing, the horror and the dark humor. His visuals, and his extremely bleak or shocking endings that leave one hell of an impact. I know I've complained about bleak, abrupt endings in the past, but I wouldn't consider this to be that. I loved, that Ellen willingly gives herself to Orlok to distract him, to save everybody from Orlok's evil and the plague. And because, she loves Thomas so much, it's just that ending. It's so disturbing, yet beautiful. And that also took inspiration from the 79 version, with Ellen distracting Orlok until he's destroyed by the sunlight. The score is haunting. It's beautifully shot. I loved all the different panning shots, like when Thomas he first sees the chariot. It cuts to him, then it slowly pans to the chariot opening by itself as he's drawn to it. It's just so neat. That final shot alone, I think, is a work of art. And I loved, the themes of this movie. There's a lot of them here. It talks about toxic relationships, the plague, obsession, and loneliness and despair. And I loved the slow pace of this movie. It added to the atmosphere and made the movie a lot more chilling. In conclusion, I'm gushing here. I'm absolutely going to say a lot more once everybody has their turn. Nosferatu is proof that Eggers isn't capable of making a bad movie. The directing, acting, writing, tone, horror, and love and care from Eggers is on full display here, and it paid off beautifully. This might be my favorite movie for him. Because with his first three movies, yes, I love them now. But when I first saw them, it took me a little bit to fully digest them. Just because, they were just so abstract and different from other stuff I've seen before. But with this, I loved it immediately on the first watch. I saw it twice. Maybe I'll see it a third time. Not. I mean, not much is really coming out in theaters for the rest of the year. I mean, come on, like, what should I watch? Nicole Kidman, the MILF, the A24 movie. Nah, I'm good. I cannot recommend this movie enough, and I hope it makes money. Both my showings were completely filled. This is how you remake a beloved horror classic. Instead of seeing Mufasa, watch Sonic 3 and watch this. I'm looking forward to what Eggers does next, whether it's The Night, his Western, his Recipe miniseries, and I would love to see him tackle pirates. Also, thank you for redeeming Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bill Skarsgård after they started two garbage comic book movies this year. When discussing horror directors who gained fame from their work with A24, Robert Eggers is the Chad, and Ari Aster is the skinny little virgin. That is why I am absolutely giving this a perfect 10 out of 10.
So I'm can you guys hear me okay? All right, perfect. I had some microphone issues for a second. So Robert Eggers crafted a beautiful cinematic film. The aesthetic and the period looked fantastic. This felt like a play put in as a fantastic film. There are a lot of great and good performances. I thought Lily Rose Depp was excellent at playing Ellen Hunter. She brought a physical and emotional performance. I remember hearing about Anna Taylor-Joy, who was set to play Ellen Hunter a while back, and I think she would have been great too. But Robert Eggers knows how to bring out the best in performances, and he did no different for Lily Rose Depp in this role too. And she was phenomenal, just great in every scene she was in. I also thought William Dafoe was great. He's been great at a lot of things, but this movie, particularly, he really brought an A++ performance as Professor Alban von Fratz, who was like the Van Helsing character in the stories. Um, when William Dafoe does go on screen, it does feel like there's a boost of energy that the film need in the second half, and William Dafoe really does bring this energy that you really want to get more to continue to be engaging in the story, because there are moments where it does get a little too slow, but once he's on screen and he's just doing his thing, you just feel that energy in the second half. I also liked Ralph Ensign as Dr. William Severs. He's been in a lot of Edgar Roberts Robert Eggers projects. Excuse me, I have a bad cold. And I really like a lot of the scenes that he was in with William Dafoe. They're some of the best stuff I liked in this movie. I thought Nicholas Hoult as Thomas was just okay in the film. There are moments I couldn't stop thinking of him as Renfield a year ago. As there are some scenes where it kind of reminded me of Renfield. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was overacting in this film, and it sucks that this wasn't his bounce back performance as Craven the Hunter. There were moments I thought he was miscast in the film, but it is what it is. He wasn't bad, he wasn't great or good, but he was just okay. Um, I did like some of the changes Robert Eggers made in his version of Nosferatu. I did see a little bit of Coppola inspirations that I couldn't ignore, but he brings his own spin to those inspirations that make it more that makes it his movie, his tone, his art throughout the entire movie. Um, I thought Bill Skarsgård playing Count Orlok, I thought he had a great performance. He really just dives into this character that you forget is Bill Skarsgård playing Count Orlok. There are some nitpicks I have about the look of Count Orlok, but I like how Robert Eggers uses the shadows and the dark imagery and just a variety of different things to really make him intimidating, creepy, and uses a lot of the background stuff to to make him this presence without really showing him when it matters. You only see him when it's important and when it really matters the most in some scenes, which is great because there were some really good jump scenes when you do see what he looks like, in the light or a little more in the brightness in this movie. Um, the bottom line, this is a must watch in theaters, as this is a true cinematic experience to enjoy on the big screen for all audience who loves movies and filmmaking, as Robert Eggers utilizes the camera and the to the max for a lot of his scenes throughout Nosferatu, and my score is a 9 out of 10.
Robert Eggers, Nosferatu, the redemption for Cape shit this year, it seems like. Um, I just would firstly like to preface my review saying fuck AMC for their garbage sound system, because I believe it was because of them that I couldn't hear the fucking dialogue half the time. So fuck them for that. But outside of that, let's move on to the actual review. So this this is the fourth film from Robert Eggers, who has become one of my favorite directors. I think Mike Flanagan still takes the cake, even though he's had more flaws in his filmography than Eggers has. But Eggers is still the championing director in terms of quality because he has not made a bad film yet. And Nosferatu is definitely can be added to that pantheon of great films. So I thank thee for that. I don't think, much like Nosferatu or Count Orlok himself, I don't think Eggers is human, because how can you just do four bangers in a row? My God. And of this quality. And on top of the fact, with how this has been getting un, less than glowing positive reception, just goes to show that the normies don't know jack shit about anything. Um, but with that, I move on to my actual thoughts on the film. First things first, I always start off with the acting. I disagree with Rome. I thought the acting was incredibly fantastic in this film. I thought Nicholas Holt was very, very good. I thought he definitely had that even balance of scared and like growing love for his wife, and like a lot of like intricacies with that level of performance. Because I've noticed recently how hard it is for people to like be scared, because it's like it's so it's hard to sell. It's very hard to sell, and I've noticed that where it's like sometimes it can be seen as over exaggerated, but I think the way, like especially with the scenes where he's talking with Orlok, it's very it's not too much. It can be seen as too much, but I don't think it's too much, because he's very like it's like almost reaching that point of over exaggeration, but it never goes past that point. I really appreciated that. And Nicholas Holt is just a fantastic actor, and he's had a good year so far this year. So good on him for that. Juror number two was also excellent. But he was great in this film. I would say Lily Rose Depp was very good. I know she was kind of the worrisome part for a lot of people, because they heard Anya Taylor-Joy was the initial choice, but she had to drop out due to being in Furiosa, which is ouch. Um, Leaving an Eggers film for a mediocre George Miller film. Sorry, Anya. But Lily Rose Depp did do a phenomenal job in this movie. It proves that yoga hosers should not be the diamond of quality for an actor, and it shouldn't be for the case for Lily Rose Depp. I understand people will scream nepotism, but I thought she was very good. I understand like the physicality of it all was very good. I felt that part was a little bit over exaggerated, but even then I felt like she definitely gave, like, again, the even balance of like scared and love and grief stricken, and just as well as like the grief at certain points, as well as you know like just like executing what needs to be executed on screen, and like trying so hard not to be manipulated by Orlok, but essentially becoming that because like of how powerful he truly is. Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought he was very good. I thought he was really, really good. However, the scene that and spoiler for this, the scene that made me really like that sold the performance on me was when after it's after Anna and his kids have been killed by Orlok, and he's like also delirious because of the plague, and he's just like crying over their coffin. That was just a very, very powerful scene. And you could tell that Taylor Johnson was going from personal experience of like what would happen if like my actual wife and children died. And he really gave that level of just pure like grief for your children and for your loved ones. Just that was one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, most definitely. um I think I still think he was good at other points in the film, but I think that was definitely the best. Like it kind of reminded me like, oh yeah, this guy can act, because we weren't craving Craven. So like, and I enjoyed that movie, but this was masterclass. This is a great film. So with that, I think Taylor Johnson definitely proved himself that, yeah, no, hey guys, don't remember, I can act. It's fine. um Emma Corrin was fine. She didn't really do much throughout most of the film, or sorry, they didn't do much throughout most of the film. They were okay. I mean, again, not bad. It's just like it wasn't memorable. Like they did what they had to do throughout the film. So it wasn't like, oh my god, amazing, or oh my god, terrible. It was just like they did what they had to, and I like it was the dialogue scenes between various characters, and I will say when they were like delirious because of the plague, that was very good, but not hugely memorable. Um, and then I believe Simon something, I forget who played Knock again. Simon something, McHenry or something like that. He was really good. He played definitely crazy very, very well. Um, I like how you did see Knock, well, the Renfield character, McBurney. Thank you, Simon McBurney. That was, I knew he had a weird name. He was very good. I like how you saw both sides, like pre like manipulation of Orlok and post. Like obviously with the Renfield character, in this case Knock, you see that a lot. You see like the after that. So I like how you see a little bit of him being like relatively normal. I wish there was a bit more of a development there. It's like yeah, I just like how it's like, oh, we see him normal, and then immediately he's like in the center of like a pentagram and like going crazy. Like I wish there was like some sort of like development there. But even that like nitpick. But that leads me to Bill Skarsgård in the film, and he was an absolute fucking powerhouse. This was, not only do I firmly believe that this was Bill Skarsgård's best performance, this is one of the best horror performances I've seen in a long time. This was absolute, like if the Academy actually liked horror movies, this could definitely be a nomination and a win. In my book, I would say yes, most definitely. Skarsgård was absolutely on fire here. He portrayed him as a monster, which is what I prefer as Dracula. I know some people prefer the more, the like Gary Oldman portrayal, which is the more sympathetic sort of tragic villain, which I don't hate or anything. I mean, Bram Stoker's Dracula is a great film, but I prefer the more monstrous version, which is probably why I always liked the Nosferatu films. Um, so with that, I just love how he's a fucking amazing puppet master, an amazing manipulator. He definitely, Eggers went with less is more, much like Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, and you just feel every like you feel everything he's portraying. I don't know if that makes sense, but you just feel the entire like body of his performance whenever he speaks, whenever he moves. Just everything is just dripping with talent, and it's just, I would say, no disrespect to Max Schreck or Klaus Kinski, but I would say he's the best Count Orlok we've gotten out of the three, which is that's saying a lot, because Klaus Kinski, despite being an intolerable sack of shit, is considered one of the greatest actors of all time, and Max Schreck was excellent in the original Symphony of Horror, but Bill Skarsgård just takes the cake. Like he has said in many interviews, I have not portrayed a level of wickedness ever before, and I don't think I ever will again, which is like good on him. Keep your mental health properly there. So yeah, he was absolutely excellent. And I did forget Ralph Ineson and Willem Dafoe. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just like Bill Skarsgård. That's like the thing I wanted to build up to, because he was just so supremely fucking excellent. But Ralph Ineson was very good. I liked how it was very different. I don't remember him in The Northman. I don't remember his role in that film. But in The Witch, he was more exaggerated. And I really like how we see like him as more as he's the Dr. Seward counterpart. And I like how he's more he's a good guy here, and he's more like subdued. I really appreciated that. He's going to be our new Galactus, so that's certainly going to be interesting. And then finally, Willem Dafoe. I think the reason I kind of forgot, because it's just like, oh, it's another legendary, amazing Willem Dafoe performance. Okay, next. It's like the man always understands the assignment, and I always expect greatness from him, and I am never disappointed by a Dafoe performance. I don't think it is possible for that man to give a bad performance. It's not. I genuinely believe, like, it's amazing that Defoe has not become an A-lister. It's amazing. Maybe because he's weird. Maybe because he's, like, he is probably because he's not beautiful, in the Hollywood standards. But he's up there with, like, Denzel Washington in terms of one of the greatest actors who's ever lived, easily. I will die on that hill. But from a technical point of view, pretty much everything hit on all cylinders. The music by frequent Eggers collaborator Robin, I think Carolson, I believe their name is, excellent. Again, really helped the atmosphere, really helped the suspense and tension. It was just properly gothic, properly engaging, and really brought you into the world of the film. But you can say that about all the other scores they've done for Eggers films. So that's, what is there else to be said? Obviously the period setting, Eggers has always been one for accuracy, and thank fucking God. Like, you have all these other assholes that are like, oh, we'll just do this actor. We'll just do this. It's just like, I understand historical accuracy doesn't technically matter, but it's still very nice to see someone really deeply care about, like, the history of us, the history of mankind throughout the years. So I very much appreciate that. Cinematography is, of course, gorgeous, as Devin mentioned. The scene where Hutter gets into the coach going to Orlok's castle was just, I would say, visually, that's probably the best scene in the movie. But don't get me wrong, like, the entire film is beautiful, but that was the most memorable for me visually. Just the overall creep factor. I will say, I mean, all the scenes in Orlok's castle were phenomenal as well. But that scene, it just felt like you can feel Hutter going from the world of normalcy to the world of Orlok that doesn't make sense, because you could see that, like, it just feels like you're entering a different world through that one scene. It's like the panning, as Devin also mentioned before, how he's like, and then you see him, like, you see him walking up, but then by the end he's just like kind of gliding in. It's just like, now it's like in your mind you're entering, okay, you're now what you're entering is just no longer real anymore. And I felt that that was executed and portrayed very well. Very well edited. The obviously the costumes and uh the setting and everything. I really liked the story beats, as well as again combining all different aspects but doing his own thing. I really liked how in this version, something that's very memorable to me, how in the original two films, the plague of rats is very much in the background. And those were great for those films. But this one, in order to have the guise of Orlok be very much like the puppet master behind everything, they made the plague of rats very much at the forefront. And I really, really, really liked that. I really liked how Eggers really put on the forefront of how the plague of rats is really just flushing in like the disease ridden, like wickedness of Count Orlok and his, how his like aura of evilness really, is spread across the lands, and metaphorically, but in the plague of rats, literally, and really showcased why he is this threat to never be bargained with, and why he has been this horrible threat for centuries. I also liked the aspects of bringing in from the original book, because Nosferatu was very much had to be loosey goosey with the book because of copyright and and having so much film to portray that, as well as being lost for so long. But I liked like little things, but like little touches here and there. I like the I like the mustache. Like everyone hates the mustache. I love the mustache. I don't care what anybody says. And then everyone's like, "Oh, why does he have a mustache, bitch? It's from the fucking book." Also, Gary Oldman had a mustache. Suck my dick. All right, nobody complained when Gary Oldman had a mustache. Eat a dick, you fuckers. Anyway, and I also liked how they include the gypsies in this film, because that was towards the end of the novel where they were fighting the gypsies. That's how Quincy Morris gets killed. Spoiler alert for a fucking over 100-year-old novel. So I really like, even though that wasn't their role in this film, I kind of like how Eggers incorporated that aspect. Um, but yeah, pretty much everything about this film was magnificent. However, the one thing that brought it down for me a little bit, why it doesn't get a perfect 10, is I felt that the pacing at times was not very good. Now, Eggers has always been his films have always been a master class of slow but engaging, and for the most part the film was. I think most of the second act and the third act were very engaging. However, I felt that the first act, before we get to Orlok's castle, was kind of slow, like not in a good way. It just felt like we were just kind of pitter puttering around before we got to Orlok's castle. And then there are certain scenes where it just goes on a little bit too long. It's like, all right, let's kind of move on a little bit. But again, that I felt that that was a very small. It's on the verge between nitpick and genuine flaw. So, yeah, I think it's like I don't want to say it's a flaw, but it's bigger than a nitpick, because it brought me out of the film a little bit, and I was kind of almost nodding off at points. But to be fair, I do have a terrible sleep schedule, so that might also be a thing. And it was a very nice warm theater. There was a lot of people, so maybe that brought the temperature up and made me more tired. I don't know, but Robert Eggers, he's the goat. He is the goat. That's why they nickname him Black Phillip, because he's the goat. Anyway, terrible joke. I apologize, and I've rambled on a little bit too long, and I'm sure Mark wants to speak now. So, with this, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. I would have given it a 9, but then Those kids got killed, so I'm like, all right, got to give it a 9.5. Let's go. Anyway, here is our history professor, Mark Thompson. Let's fucking go. KitchenAid Whiskey Jones, you are up, sir.
Fucking finally. Actually get to speak now. Holy shit. Damn. Glad I wrote my review. I fucking forgot. All right, guys. Does evil come from within us or beyond? This question was asked by Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter. More on her in a minute. The day may come when Robert Eggers makes a bad film, but it is not this day. Yes, the modern day maestro of cinematic horror has done it again, to the surprise of absolutely no one, at least no one here. Bill Skarsgård tackles the titular role as Count Orlok, the Romanian nobleman based on the real-life Vlad the Impaler. Robert Eggers' skillful craftsmanship, and between that is Robert Eggers' skillful craftsmanship, some outstanding creature design, and Skarsgård's masterful portrayal, they managed to create the scariest version of Dracula to yet grace the silver screen, at least that this reviewer has seen. And I've seen my fair share of Dracula films, including all three of the Nosferatu films now. Skarsgård's terrifying presence rivals his performance as this guy in the It films. He's also the most accurate to the original book, ironically, since the original 1922 film was sued by Bram Stoker's widow for copyright infringement. Thank goodness the copyright expired long ago, or we couldn't have this. The primary reason for this is that, for once, the title character, a Romanian nobleman, actually looks and feels like a Romanian nobleman. Skarsgård is just masterfully, absolutely terrifying in this role. I think John said it best. I think you have two different ways to portray the Dracula role. I mean, it is essentially Dracula because this is ultimately just from the book. So, but there is the more suave, smooth, sophisticated kind of Dracula romantic, and there's also more Dracula, the creature, the monster. And this one kind of really leads heavily into the latter portrayal. I still think that my favorite portrayal is still Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula, because his portrayal worked perfectly for that film, but this portrayal works perfectly for this film as well. And this is definitely the scariest one I have seen by far. He was absolutely terrifying in this film, and it just goes to show just what a great actor that Bill Skarsgård did. There is, very little this man can't do, especially in a horror film. Dear God, Eggers pays homage to the original film by setting it in the fictional North German port city of Wisborg in 1938, just like the 1922 film. He also surrounds the star with the best supporting cast possible, all portraying the same characters as in the original. Nicholas Hoult is solid as the beleaguered Thomas Hutter. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, he's very good actually as the beleaguered Thomas Hutter. He's goes to show why he's one of the best young actors working today. Speaking of the best young actors working today, Aaron Taylor-Johnson redeems himself from his lackluster portrayal in Craven. If you've been craving a better portrayal for him, you get it in this. I also have to disagree with Roland. I thought he was very good in this. I thought he was very solid in this because he did a very good job for me portraying a man who just cannot grasp what is going on. He's overwhelmed by this. He's a man of his time. He's a man of the Victorian era. For him, this is just, women hysterics. He cannot grasp what's going on. He's a man of science, a man of the time, a time when science was on the rise. This was in the early stages of the Industrial Revolution, you have to understand, after the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution of the Enlightenment. So he thinks he's kind of a modern Victorian era man, and he's kind of lost in this. And especially later in the film, when tragedy strikes, he's lost, and you can tell that he does a fantastic job in that role. So he, in my eyes, at least, he redeems himself. And Emma Corrin portrays his wife Anna. Simon, and she was solid as well. She's not given a whole lot to do, but I mean, what she was, I thought she was good at. Simon McBurney is terrific as the Madman Knock, and Ralph Ineson makes for a very good Dr. William Sievers. Willem Dafoe, another Eggers favorite, does his usual brilliant thing in the Van Helsing role as Professor Alban Eberhard von Franz. Needless to say, the cast is more than solid with great performances all around. Willem Dafoe is just, he's a fucking legend at this point. He's Willem Dafoe. I mean, Jesus, just, let him just, give him a role and let the man go to work. He's a true artist of the craft. So, Eggers pays homage. So, Eggers also works his magic on the film with a tight script and very creepy atmosphere. We get the usual Eggers tropes here, I guess you could say, although I hate to use that term. It's such a negative term. But the things you have come to expect from Eggers, the characteristics that make an Eggers film, that give it that signature look, feels like that. The very clever, very brilliant use of shadows reminds one of the black and white original. The eerie, unsettling score helps to set the mood. And while he honors the original film and the remake, he's also not afraid to do his own thing, including the look of Warlock and the ending. He makes it a lot more terrifying, of course. He definitely puts his own spin on it. And one of the best spins is he creates, and this is, again, something he's known for, he creates a very historically accurate portrayal of mid-19th century Germany, of that era. Like I already mentioned, this was a time the post-scientific revolution, post-enlightenment. This is a romantic era, the early stages of the Industrial Revolution. But I mean, you get that contrast between, and I love the conversations they have between, they look at they've emerged from the Middle Ages. They see themselves as men of science. And so they cannot grasp this medieval terror that is plaguing them. They even call it the Black Death, the Black Plague, so it's kind of like they're in over their head. And I do love the symbolism there of, calling it the Black Plague, and how he has them bite them on the chest. So, it kind of looks like a disease, so, but the real star of this film, however, is Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter, the young wife of Thomas and the object of Orlok's desire. As great as Skarsgård is, she somehow managed to be even better. The worries of her replacing Anya Taylor-Joy, who seems to be Eggers' muse, and a favorite of all of us, proved to be unfounded. And honestly, I will be the first one to admit I was one of those who was really worried about Anya and said delay the film if necessary to get her in it. But I mean, I have never been happier to be wrong. And I know that I say that a lot, but it's true. So until next time, I'm wrong, which happens a lot. But anyway, her performance really stretches the spectrum. She has the toughest role in the film in terms of demands on her as an actor. She absolutely knocks us out of the park. Her performance stretches the entire spectrum from concerned wife to raving lunatic to tormented woman to possessed sex-crazed maniac. She just is all over the place in terms of demands on her as an actress, and she really, really kills it. So, and I understand that, people hate, nepotism, call her a nepo baby and all this, but I mean, the girl can act. That's plain and simple. The girl can act, and she knocked it out of the park. So, at the end of the, she not only matches Skarsgård's energy and then some. So, I mean, their scenes together are just absolutely fantastic. At the end of the day, all I can do is repeat what I have said time and time and time and time again for emphasis. Robert Eggers does not miss. He does not miss. This man can quite frankly do no wrong. He's still batting 1,000, folks. And I, for one, simply cannot wait to see what he has in store for us in the future. So my score is a very, very enthusiastic, perfect 10. 5 stars, baby. Doesn't get any better than this. This is
The day Eggers misses is the day hell freezes over.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
100%.
Before we start on discussion, Zach was not able to make it, but we do have his review right here. So here is Zach's review of Nosferatu.
All right, gents. I'm not there in person, but I'm there in spirit. So, initially, I did not think I was going to be able to give a review of Nosferatu because the first time watching it last night, I did not know what to think of it. Like, I wasn't positive, negative, or even mixed on it. Like, I did not know what to think about it. It was just so much to take in the first time, so much to process. So I just needed to take time to really think about it and even watch it again if I could. And after watching it again, man, I'll tell you, sometimes a second viewing can really put it in perspective for you because this might be Robert Eggers' best film. No bullshit. This might really be my favorite thing he has ever done. Because this is one of the most rich, artistic, deeply atmospheric films I have ever seen in a long time. Like, I cannot think, at least off the top of my head, a single thing that I disliked about this movie. Like, even the whole decision to give Count Orlok a mustache, like, didn't hate it, didn't look bad or anything. It's just weird, you know, like, it's not something I'm used to seeing with the character. But thankfully his performance, the voice, and his stature and his screen presence more than made up for it. Like, dude, every single scene he had in this movie gave me chills. Every line of dialogue and the way that he spoke it gave me chills. Like, the biggest example being when he's threatening Elle, I think is her name, at the end. Like, you give yourself to me or the whole town dies. Like, just the way that he says it, like, it's a simple threat, but the way that he says it, like, with the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, dude. Like, this is the most uncomfortable I have been in a movie since Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Like, I cannot stress enough, like, just how much I was squirming in my seat for a lot of the runtime. And, man, what else? Like, where else to go? Like, man, outside of Nosferatu, I gotta say that, like, the other biggest highlight of the film has to be Willem Dafoe. Like, maybe that's cheating because you put him in anything, he's gonna steal the show, but dude, he stole the show. His character was eccentric, showed signs that there's more of an insanity to him than maybe meets the eye, but he was so engaging to watch, and just the way that Dafoe sold how eccentric he was just got me invested. And glad he didn't die at the end. So I also got to give props to Nicholas Hoult also. Like, I thought his character was very likable. I actually thought he was dead towards the beginning of the movie. Like, I thought that he was actually being eaten alive by Count Orlok. So it surprised me actually to see that he was able to get away and whatnot. Which I actually gotta ask, how does he not turn? Like, can maybe y'all know more about this story than I do? You know, y'all definitely know more about vampires than I do. But how did Nicholas Hoult not turn into a vampire by the end? Like, I won't call it a plot hole, just in case there is an explanation for it that I just don't know about. But it just led me scratching my head actually after I was leaving the theater. But I digress. Nicholas Hoult was also great in this. And the biggest props that I gotta give to the movie overall, outside of the atmosphere and the acting, is the ending. What a tragic ending! Like, because keep in mind, I haven't seen a lot of Nosferatu anything in years, so it was sort of a refresher and sort of a shock to me to see that Al dies at the end to save her husband and save her community and whatnot. I thought it was a really tragic ending. Like, it's not a case that the villain wins because the villain dies, but the heroes don't win either. I thought it was a interesting contrast or an interesting balance there, whatever it may be. But to wrap it up though, on a second viewing, while I know I didn't dislike my experience the first time, on a second viewing, I loved Nosferatu. Like, it was atmospheric, it was rich, a tragic ending, great characters, and letting the story speak for itself and not just letting it be let it be run over by jump scares and over reliance on blood and gore. There was a nice balance there with the tension and the scares. So while it's not my favorite horror film of the year, I will say just on a technical level, the way that it's made, it is probably the best horror film of the year. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Bravo, Eggers. More like this, please.
Hell yeah.
Also, I would like to address his apparent plot hole.
Yeah, I was gonna address that too.
The intention of the sorry to cut you off, but the intention of the vampire is usually how it discerns between a feeder and a minion. Usually when someone is a feeder, or a feedee, where Orlok just uses them for food, is when they're not turned, and that's essentially the case here. Hutter was not intended to become a vampire because he was, obviously the rules change from movie to movie, but when feeding on someone, they usually don't turn into a vampire. But usually it's bitten on the neck and it's just a bite is when they become a vampire. But if it's like a prolonged sucking and taking the blood out of the victim is,
I think it's usually become now that you have to drink vampire's blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Sometimes you have to drink their blood. Sometimes it's just a bite. So, because I know that's technically what happens in the 1979 version is Jonathan Harker becomes a vampire despite the fact that he's only been feeding on him the whole time. So it's just in this version and and just like that, it's just like he was just intended to be a feeder. So that's all.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the 79 version had more of the downer ending because Ellen dies, Orlok dies, Van Helsing is framed for Orlok's murder and arrested, and Jonathan Harker becomes a vampire.
Yeah.
So that's an ending where everyone is fucked. Same, in a way, that's what this ending is too, but not really, because Ellen, giving herself to Orlok, saved everybody. She
was an act of
herself.
love rather than
love and
very Victorian. Yeah.
I wouldn't
say
I wouldn't call it maybe a stalemate ending.
It's a good ending.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a stalemate ending.
No, it's a good ending.
It's like I said, I think it's more like a Victorian thing. She's the virtuous woman who sacrifices too. It's very. I may be wrong here, but it seems to me goes really, really. It fits within that whole Victorian Gothic romance thing.
Mm-hmm. What's the thing of him feeding off the chest or the heart instead of the neck and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I thought that was pretty refreshing.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something different and not like the repeated stuff we've seen in a lot of vampire movies.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I feel like that was very,
Mm-hmm.
very good.
I know with Anne Rice and a lot of others, it's you have to drink their blood.
Mhm.
That's
And I like how they even said like because it's from the chest, you can see it looks more diseased
yeah.
than from the
Right.
neck, which I
Mhm.
liked as well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean,
Yeah,
in the
especially with the
Dracula
plague of rats
novel,
being so prevalent.
I mean, in the Dracula novel, there was, and in the Coppola version, you had the scene where Mina was drinking where Dracula cut himself, and Mina was drinking his blood.
Yeah. I also liked how Anna, aka the Lucy counterpart, was just not even like the desire of Orlok. It felt more personal and intimate in a way, in a very fucked up, manipulative sort of way. But I liked how it wasn't just like, it's more of like a broader sense of like he wants Ellen, but he also wants to spread his like manipulation across this town in Germany rather than he's just fucking all your bitches type of thing,
Right.
which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying in terms of what Eggers was going for, I really liked that, how it's just like it's this one woman is the object of his desires, but he's also like, I want to spread as much chaos as I possibly can. So that's what he's doing.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's more like I want her so bad I'm willing to, fuck this whole town up if necessary.
That's also the case.
Yeah, that to get what I want.
Yeah,
I give no
I think
fuck.
that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that of what makes this version of Orlok so terrifying. Like, if he wants something, he's gonna fucking want it.
That's it, exactly.
Honestly, I was kind of half expecting Orlok to burst into flames because I feel like that's the thing to do now with vampire death for Sunlight is just straight up burst into flames. But I like how it was just, he just kind of bleeds from his. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, this movie's so gory." I'm like, "Is it?"
No,
not really.
No, I didn't feel that way about it.
No, I mean there is some blood, but it's not like a shit. Because another my coworker, I guess you could call her, she was like, "Is this movie? I've heard it's gory. Is it gory?" I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's some blood, but it's not like fucking. Don't expect fucking brain dead or anything like that.
I expect a Terrifier 3.
Like that's like that, like slasher gore. This is atmosphere. This is suspense. This is tension. It's like an ongoing like feeling of dread. It's not. I mean, there's some gore, like you see some of the sequences of like Ellen bleeding from her eyes and mouth, and obviously people get stabbed and stuff, and there's some like blood. I know Knock covers himself in blood during a scene, but it's not in your face about it.
For me, I just felt like it was utilized when it mattered the most or was important.
Right.
It wasn't like it was just, hey, we're just gonna throw it in there. It's more like this scene or this moment is very important. This is why we have this much blood, or how it was used was more of a story point. Or, just a point.
I mean, I thought it was, like you said, I think the atmospheric, the fact that he does horror right, because, I mean, he focuses on the atmosphere.
That's where it should be, I think,
yeah. What I was trying to say was just
the gore is just there, of course, but I mean, it makes it more effective because he has earned. Exactly. It's like that is the context in which the gore takes place, and that's what everybody else misses. It's not you had that context. And they don't have that.
Yeah.
A lot of
yeah, absolutely.
And I feel as though this film, I really liked how in this film Willem Dafoe was definitely like the polar opposite of the 79 Van Helsing character.
Right.
How in that movie he was very much like a man of God and like a non-believer in vampires, but this version was more like an occultist, and I really liked that. I really liked how like he was like on the cusp of going insane, but he doesn't really until it's earned, because I know like people love Willem Dafoe going crazy, like that's the joke, like, oh, look at the lighthouse, he goes crazy. And don't get me wrong, I love Willem Dafoe going apeshit, like I love to see it, But this one I really liked, and I felt like it was kind of earned towards the end, where like he kills Knock, and he's like, I had, and he's like, oh, the darkness, blah, 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 and like he's like going like the whole 9 yards.
The wrong person, yeah.
But it felt earned. Like he was a little weird throughout the whole movie, but like it was like a slow build up to that, and I really liked that. I also liked how the scene. I saw this funny meme where it was like the scene where Willem Dafoe, the professor, comes in and he like deals with Ellen like for the first time, and Ralph Ineson, the Dr. Seward counterpart, I forget the actual character's name, but he was like, oh, and don't give her any ether tonight. And Ineson was like, well, then she'll yes, thank you. Severs, he was like, well, she's gonna rave all night, and he's like, then let her rave. And I'm like,
Right.
And then I saw this meme where it was like, I bet you so many DJs are gonna fucking use that line before the beat drops. That was really funny. I'm like, yeah, I could see that happening. Yeah, that was good.
And honestly, like in terms of like violence, like I'd say his most brutal, Eggers' most brutal movie so far was the Northman.
Yeah,
like that,
which wasn't even a horror movie.
On the village alone is more violent than anything in this movie.
Now he just needs to work with Gustav Skarsgård and Stellan Skarsgård, and then the Skarsgård, lineage will be complete.
Well, Bill was originally supposed to be in the Northman, but I think he dropped out because he was doing a Barbarian.
From one barbarian to another. But I mean, Alexander Skarsgård was perfect, and the thing is, I buy Alexander Skarsgård more because he's bigger and more muscular.
Yeah, he is.
Skarsgård is more like of an athletic, like smaller toned build, as we saw in The Pigeon. But talk about like a fucking 180. Talk about a fucking story arc, how it's going, how it started versus how it's going. I love how that is for like all the 3 people in this movie were in cape shit movies this year, and they all got, a much better movie.
Finish. Yeah.
You had Bill Skarsgård in The Pigeon, you had Emma Corrin in Deadpool and Wolverine, and you had Aaron Taylor Johnson in Kraven the Hunter. I know Deadpool and Wolverine's a decent movie, but from what I remember from your guys' review, she was one of the weakest parts of the movie.
I liked her in the movie.
So I've heard that she, like, the villain's like the weakest part of the movie. So I'm just,
well, you can say that for most MCU movies.
So
Exactly.
I just, and plus, without even watching Deadpool and Wolverine, this is a better movie than Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh,
Oh, absolutely. And
so that's
1,000%.
obvious.
I do want to pull up Zach's question. Where does this rank among horror films of 2024? This is number 1.
Among horror films? Yeah, I'd say so.
I would
It's my
say
top-
Longlegs is
top
better
3.
because Longlegs managed to do what not many horror films can, and it scared me. So I say that beats it out.
Yeah, I'm with John. Long Legs is the same for me.
It's hard to say because
they're very different movies, though.
So, I mean, and I'm sure Devin will agree. He knows my third. There of course Nosferatu, Longlegs, and the it, Devin.
Substance?
No, well, that too. 4.
Strange Darling?
Devil, what?
Late Night with the Devil.
Late Night with the Devil. Yeah,
Late Devil. That's a good one.
Yeah,
Late Night with the Devil. So, I mean, we've had
Abigail was fun, could have been better, but that's more horror comedy than
I loved
straight
Abigail.
up horror.
Yeah. Abigail
We
was
had like two different vampire movies because the Abigail is just is goofy fun, whereas this is like genuinely terrifying,
and both Dracula related.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
my question is, what Dracula movie is Nicholas Hoult going to be in next year?
Good question.
I mean, he did Renfield.
Renfield.
And now he's
got
done
Nosferatu.
I like how, although I do love how Robert Eggers gifted him the prosthetic dick that Bill Skarsgård wore as Count Orlok, and it's currently framed in his house. He's like, I have it hanging in my house.
That's hilarious.
I'm just saying, I was not expecting to see Orlok naked.
I was like, he has a
And
small
he's
dick.
definitely a grower, not a shower.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mad respect.
I do love that scene.
Canon, Count Orlok became evil because too many
Yes.
chicks made fun of him for his small dick.
And I saw him like thrusting on top of Thomas as he was like sucking his blood,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, is he like, is he doing what I think he's doing?
Dracula's bisexual, confirmed.
Yeah.
Had his dick in both hunters.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
But yeah, this was definitely second best horror for me, and it's only beaten out by Long Legs.
Nosferatu, Count Orlok be like, hole is whole.
When there's a hole, there's a goal.
Exactly.
You got it. And this movie has balls. Not only does it show child murder, it also shows.
Well, yeah, we
necrophilia.
saw him on our Orlok. Hello.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we saw fucking, and then we saw Frederick having sex with Anna's corpse before he died.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, hey, fucking Leslie Nielsen did the same thing in superhero movie. I mean, what you got to do, what you got to do. But even that,
I do want to pull this up. So, some of these characters weren't in the either version of, and either some of these new names were made for this movie.
wasn't Harding not in it?
Harding was in the original.
Oh, okay.
I'll look
Never
it
mind.
up.
Sorry, continue. Sorry.
Eberhardt wasn't. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
so that version, even like they call him, there's versions that call, so his name is Professor Bulwer, but there are other prints that call him Van Helsing, even though he acts nothing like Van Helsing.
He's nothing like Van Helsing.
Mhm.
So I don't remember. Was there a Harding? And I don't remember there being a Harding in the 22 version. Was there?
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen both, but I know that there was no Van Helsing character, like an actual Van Helsing character
wasn't.
in the 22 version.
No, but there was I looked it up. There was a Harding in the 1922 version. I don't think it was named Thomas Harding, but I mean it was.
I don't think Anna was in that version though.
I don't
22 is Thomas.
There was
Hutter.
no Anna.
No.
Yeah,
But yeah, there was a Harding though.
Yeah, it was Harding.
there was a hard on.
Yeah, Harding. Exactly, hard on.
But no, there is a Harding who plays by George H. Schnell. Harding named Peter. Yeah. Gustav von Wangenheim.
There's no Anna character, I don't think.
No.
And the 79
No.
version actually used the characters' names from the book.
Yeah, which made it confusing, but
Yeah.
But yeah, so Harding and Severs as well is also in the original film. And then I believe Ruth is, I think, the Lucy counterpart in the original film. That might be the case. I don't know.
Probably.
So I think Anna was made for this film.
Yes,
And obviously, Quincy Morris is the most disrespected Dracula character, only appearing in the Coppola version and mixed with Arthur in the Count Dracula BBC miniseries from 1977. Poor Quincy Morris.
At
He
least
sacrificed himself for what? Nothing.
At least Coppola had the real character in the movie, which makes me love that movie even more.
Yeah, and he was the only one to get Dracula's death properly.
Mhm.
Get killed by ordinary knives.
Yep.
Can see why they changed it, because that's kind of boring.
Well, they had made it decapitate him.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love that. I love the fact that it was Mina. He changed. It was Mina who kills him. She finishes them off.
Yeah,
because
that worked. I really liked that as well.
Yeah, it brought it.
Yeah, I even though I prefer, I think I prefer this version to the Bram Stoker's Dracula that Coppola made. But the thing is, Coppola, I mean, it's just like that. We've gotten a lot of great fucking Dracula movies. We got a lot of great vampire movies. I don't know what. Okay, so ignoring. So okay, Devin, since you're the expert on this, what is your favorite Nosferatu movie now? Is it this one?
Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
It's tough for me because I think this is the one that's, I would say the scariest was the 1922 version for me, but I think the overall best one was this one because it got the most right for me. Because as much as I like the Werner Herzog version, it's just there's some things that prevent it from being better. It's not a bad movie. There's just like some shortcomings here more so than the other versions. It's the weakest one for me, but it's still, all three are fantastic movies.
Yeah, the 79 version, that's the weakest one for me, but I do genuinely love all three, but this one it did so much right. And it perfects like what you should do with a remake is just, again, take the concept, do your own version. And he's not trying to redo what those two movies did. Like, he doesn't recreate
he uses
a
those
lot of those
aspects
shots
in his film, but he doesn't just do it all over again.
I thought the ship scene was better in this version. Sorry, bro.
No, it's no worries. I was saying this is, Robert Eggers' art. This is like his art. This is his illustration of Nosferatu in his own way.
The original Nosferatu was a very important movie to him.
Yeah.
Apparently, he directed a Nosferatu play in high school.
Oh, sweet.
I can totally see that, and I really like the ship scene in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Where, I mean, sure, absolutely. I would have loved to see him recreate that scene of him standing like that infamous Day for Night shot in the original. I think that would have been cool. But I just love how the plague is affecting people on board. He's got the captain's got the candle, and and Orlok is sneaking around him, and then
I was surprised we got a lot of scenes in that too.
That is how you do a jump scare.
Yeah.
And once again, Orlok is naked because, of course.
Why not?
Well, the moral of the story is that Robert Eggers loves full frontal male nudity.
Gay.
Well, he's a great director. He likes to make it real and authentic and just show you this is, it's raw, it's gritty, it's ugly. It's not meant to be it's not meant to be pretty.
Yeah, it's not like the nude scenes are not because of sexual gratification for the audience. It's there because it needs to be there for what the vision is there for. Nobody's fucking popping a boner to fucking Lily Rose Depp's tits while he fucking sucks the blood from her veins. Come on.
Exactly.
It's not sexual. It's sexual to Orlok in the film, but that's the point. It's not. You can show nakedness without making it sexual. That's what a lot of people don't seem to fucking understand about.
Sorry, John. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. But I will say she did look cold because goddamn those nipples. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I felt kind of bad. I was like, oh, it's either really cold or she's. But hopefully they had an intimacy coordinator. So as long as that's the case, then they should be okay. Unlike on Honora. Oops.
Well, I mean, he didn't want one. I mean, that's the thing. They ask him if they want one, and so Mikey Madison said she was comfortable enough with the nude scenes. She just
oh yeah,
fuck. I mean, damn.
Literally,
her confidence. I mean, shit.
Literally, fuck.
I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement here. All 8 of us in the Cool Kids agree, because I know in a lot of movie forums, the A24 forums, there's always the debate oh, are you a Robert Eggers guy? Are you an Ari Aster guy? Because I mean, because I can see why. I mean, the two made their big debuts with these acclaimed horror movies from A24.
Yeah.
You know, there's always that debate, like, oh, who do you like more? I was always like, I'm the one that's willing to give Ari Aster a chance because I do love Hereditary and I like Midsummer. I don't like the other one, so I'm the nicest to Ari Aster. But I was always a Robert Eggers guy. I just love his style
Same.
and his storytelling more.
I think yeah, like I probably won't see Ari Aster's movie. I probably won't pay to see his newest movie. But I'm still intrigued because I still think he has like talent. He's just an asshole. Because I mean, Hereditary is a movie that's just an enigma to me that intrigues me. I still don't know if I liked it or hated it, but I really liked Midsummer. So, you know, I still am not gonna watch Strange Things About the Johnsons. So, you know, just keep that off my fucking screen, Devin. You fucking sadist.
I just really feel a required taste. Like, if you want to watch a Robert Eggers movie, this is what you're going to be getting.
Yeah.
But like Ari Aster or Sean Baker.
Yeah. This is the most I've seen hate for, not like hate, but like, I just have not, this has been, I feel like all the other movies have been positive. This one has been mixed to positive.
Oh, I know a lot of people who hated The Witch.
I don't.
I think that's a masterpiece. That's a great movie.
Mark, isn't that still your favorite Eggers film?
What's that?
The Witch.
Yeah, that still.
See, mine too.
The Witch is still my favorite. Yeah.
My brother hates that movie.
I love it.
Yeah, again, he wanted to see Smile too. What the fuck does he know?
No problem.
Oh, okay, different one.
Drew was the one that didn't like The Witch.
Oh, okay.
Nosferatu my second after The Witch.
I would say for me, the best I still think is The Northman, and then The Lighthouse, then The Witch, then this. I do believe this is Eggers' weakest movie, but the fact it's still a fucking 9.5 out of 10 for me, that shows the goated. It's like, for me, I would say Witch and this are 9.5. Northman and Lighthouse are 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is the first movie where he's not using the word "the" in the title.
Yes, I mentioned that in my other review. Yeah.
I think how I'd rank them all, it would go Nosferatu, Lighthouse, Northman, and then probably The Witch.
It's just, but it's just like, I hate to say, oh, this is the worst one. This is it's just like, but it's like all of them are amazing. It's just like if I had to rank them, that's how I would do it.
It's like picking your favorite child.
It's like all of them are so fucking good. It's just like.
And this is something else I do want to bring up because, of course, we all know, the big thing we love about Eggers' movies is his accuracy, and he prefers to do period pieces. And I love how he said he would never want to do a movie that takes place in the future or modern day.
Yeah.
I know. He brought up, we do have his medieval movie. He revealed his one of his next projects is a medieval movie called The Knight. He brought up doing a Western. He brought up doing like a Rasputin miniseries.
I like to see him tackle a noir kind of movie, like a Chinatown kind of thing.
I know he has another gothic horror film that he wants to do, like more in the vein of like this and like The Lighthouse and The Witch kind of thing. I don't know. I remember him saying in an interview that he does have a cutoff, and I think he said he would never go past the 1920s. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know.
I love that.
But even with that, imagine Robert Eggers doing a World War I movie.
Oh,
that would be cool. Dope.
Oh, that would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. I think he would do great with World War II, but I think that's just a little bit too much for him.
Yeah.
But World War I, that especially because it's out of the two world wars, it's the one that doesn't get a lot of spotlight as much as World War II.
It's gotten more attention lately.
It's getting more attention.
The 1 century mark, the 100th anniversary, about 10 years ago.
So I would say that would be really awesome. I would like out of everything in terms if I'm remembering it correctly, and he said he wouldn't go past the 1920s, then I would say a World War I film. But if his cutoff is even earlier than that, I would say any war film by Robert Eggers would be fucking amazing. Maybe like the war, maybe like a Revolutionary War or War of 1812, another war that doesn't get a lot of spotlight in
French and
media.
Indian War.
Crimean War would be fucking awesome.
When did World War One end again? 1917?
1918.
18. Something that I think would be cool. I brought up. Imagine him doing. Because I know some people say like they wanted to see him do cosmic horror. I would love to see him do pirates next.
Yes.
Like imagine a historically accurate. We were talking about this backstage. Imagine a historically accurate pirate movie. Like Bark brought up. Imagine seeing like the more historically accurate like Sirens.
I mean, there's fertile ground there for horror because I mean, there along with all the pirate legends. I mean, all the as superstitious as sailors are, which are they're extremely superstitious. Yeah. I mean, and they still are. But I mean, especially historically, how superstitious they were. There's a lot of fertile ground there for some great horror films. Like I said, there's
imagine if he did Moby Dick,
remakes, which were like a fucking terror. I mean, Sirens, the like, whatever. Leviathan, which
Leviathan
would be good too.
Imagine if he did an adaptation of Moby Dick.
I'd love to see him do something like Dante's Inferno.
That would be cool.
That'd be awesome too.
Dante's Inferno.
That would be amazing.
Jesus,
that would be really cool.
You'd have to do that would have to just do Inferno because Dante wrote the Divine Comedy. That was the first part of the Divine Comedy.
Because then he goes to Purgatory and then he goes to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Purgatorio, then Paradiso, and
Imagine him like talking about like doing a movie about the Aztecs fighting the conquistadors.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
like Apocalypto.
Yeah, even though I couldn't get into that movie.
I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Damn good.
But so we're at the hour 22-minute mark. Is there any points that we want to make about it?
Go fucking watch this or Sonic. Don't fucking watch Mufasa because that had a surge post Christmas. Fucking idiots. Anyway,
watch
so overall.
Do we
recommend?
Sorry, Devin.
Overall, do we recommend Nosferatu?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, and he did. That was the one other thing he mentioned. An adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft book. That was cool. Another thing he wanted to do.
That'd be dope.
That would be amazing.
I mean, I'm down for anything he does next. I mean, he's just
imagine a fucking Robert Eggers movie, like a Robert Eggers helmed At the Mountains of Madness. That would be fuck. If anybody would give him the budget to do so, that movie wouldn't make money, but that would be fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, Zach, thank you for bringing this up. From now on, I will call morning the first crow of cock. So this is our review. This was our review of Nosferatu. We cannot recommend it enough. Robert Eggers is always a win. And before we wrap up, I do want to say this. This will be our last review of 2024. And it's weird to think about this. We started off the year with 60 or 70 subscribers. And now there's 140 of you. 140 people just subscribe to our channel, just seeing us weirdos, us nerds, rage about movies we hate, whether it's Crow in name only or Argyle, or praise movies we love, such as this or I don't know, Wild Robot.
Dune Part 2.
My kids, by the way, still have not forgiven me for only giving the Wild Robot 4.5.
No, I don't forgive you either.
I got Jack the book series.
4.5 is still fucking really
I
good.
know they still had. They love that movie that fucking much. They still have not forgiven.
But so, thank you to all of you for sticking by us through all this. Thank you for all the support. Hopefully, there's more of you to join us on this journey, and everyone comes around and joins us in the future. Actually, hold on for a wrap up. Quick thoughts on Sonic 3. Most of you didn't make onto the stream. I thought Sonic 3 was great.
Loved it.
Yeah, fantastic.
I was
It
there.
was really good. I think it's probably the best of the. I don't know. It's between that one and the second one for the best.
I'd say it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's kind of it's between those two for my favorite.
Agreed.
So I mean, very good. I think this kind of retreads somewhat familiar ground. With you haven't yet another hedgehog with kind of a dark past who is redeemed by the end. But I mean, at the same time, it is fucking Keanu Reeves, and he's Keanu fucking Reeves. So.
Greatest video game trilogy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the only video game trilogy, I think.
Yeah,
now, so since this was our last review of the year, which this means that coming up is the trilogy stream, our worst and best of 2024, and something different for our 2025 for 2025. So, to anyone who watched, to any of our subscribers, thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel. Support your local theaters by watching this in Sonic 3.
Yes.
And not Mufasa.
I mean, if it's to support your local theater. But even then, watch Sonic 3 twice. And then watch Nosferatu twice.
Absolutely.
And then, I don't know, just don't watch Baby Girl. Watch A Complete Unknown if it's in your theater.
And always remember, guys, there's no reason to get angry. It's just a mustache. Chicks can't say no to the mustache. Once again, we have brought light into the world. You're welcome.
Once again, we have brought light into the world. You're welcome, America. Because I wanted it on.